Based in New York City, she specializes in leadership development and strategic advising. Her talk, Transforming Women's Power Toward a Revision of Women Leadership, examines new perspectives on women's leadership and empowerment. Wow, that's a really wonderful topic, you choose. So good luck, and the stage is all yours.
Okay, I am really excited, and this topic is pretty close to my heart as I talk about um, the need for women empowerment, why we should empower women, and how do we go about empowerment. Um, what are various ways that we can, given the disparity that women have, despite all of the efforts over the centuries that we have made. So, I would like to share my presentation. Uh, okay, so the theme of this conference, the Transforming Women Power Towards the Revision of Women Leadership, as I mentioned, that is really close to my heart, the topics I speak about. And my topic, as our host has mentioned, I'm taking just a little bit of diversion on the women of the 21st century. However, the content are pretty much as you have heard in the introduction. And who is Ritu? Um, my title, my designation have been already mentioned by our host, and I like to share this something about myself that despite all of the accomplishments through the tremendous hard work over the years and years that I had received, I was still shy about talking about them. Um, it was just kind of an aha moment, so to speak, and inspiring myself. This is an inspiration. Why am I playing low myself? Why I do not showcase what I have achieved? And I started to begin with men. If they have achieved, it should be showcased, it should be talked about. And we, as our nature, we minimize our capability. And then I began to add my slides on the awards, honors, accolades that I have received. Nobody has given it to me. This was the tremendous hard work that has gone behind it in order to accomplish that. Um, I have been recognized, as you can see, and I want to use my platform to empower women and men, both uh, youth. We just don't need to empower women. We need men into the conversation. So let's talk about the main topic of is the women, the leadership, the empowerment, and what is the big idea. So for today, I would like to talk about our journey and history so far, and the problems we still face in this third decade of the 21st century, and what does it mean to be a woman in 21st century. So we are only 25 years, have a whole lot to go through. And how does leadership look like for women in this century? The power we need to empower and will lead to conclusion for my presentation. So let's start with the problem we still face. So, in this third decade of the 21st century, I like to say that we have played the role of goddesses through slaves and everything in between. In our present time, women play role from farm laborers to aerospace, from pilots to scientists to doctors. In every field, women have made their mark. We make 20, almost 50% of the workforce in the paid labor. So, how did we get here? What shows above the iceberg that's visible underneath is a tremendous effort made by the trailblazer women, enormous sacrifices, triumph and trials, and keeping ourselves um, into the motion with taking roles of multiple responsibilities at home and as well as outside, um, initiating reforms, etc. And still, we face problems. Still, we have to prove our worth over and over again. So now we have come to the stage where we are pretty much equal in workforce. It's not going to change anymore. We're not going back. How do we understand the problems that we have, the achievements we have to date, and the obstacle we still face? There's a lot of disparity still in many parts of the world, and in many cultures. Young girls do not have an equal opportunity for education. Women do not have equal opportunity uh, for skills and training. Our roles are very minimized. We talk about leadership. Leadership to me doesn't mean big titles, high corporate titles, elected offices. Yes, those are leadership role, and women are present. However, the leadership to me is in a holistic approach. Leadership is stepping up to take actions, inspire, deliver, and women do that. Still, we minimize. As I shared my example of having these accomplishments, I was minimizing myself. So this comes in as a problem that we need to address to ourselves before we take it out to the world. That we are only the receivers, but we also are not acknowledging ourselves. So I want to address that. The fast changing landscape, I mean by that is that if I, as I often talk and I mention, from my grandmother's generation to my mother's generation and my generation to my children's generation, the changes that have taken place from grandmother to mother's generation were slow, very slow perhaps. From my mother to me, there were very obvious changes. From my generation to my next generation was a rapid change. And now we are witnessing that the youngest generation entering workforce, we have a complete changed dynamics of our how we live, work, and communicate. It's total change. So this is so rapid changing landscape. We have 7+ generations living, 6 generations in the workplace. There's so much to unfold, and women's role sometimes just doesn't even get that attention, even though we make 50%, almost 50% of the workforce. Now, with saying that if we are making 50% of the workforce, We're also contributing to the GDP of our nations. We are contributing to the prosperity of our families, our societies. We are contributing to the economies. But as comes to women empowerment, it becomes an initiative that someone has to support, someone has to talk about. We still have we have to prove our worth. Now, moving on, um, if I can spend a whole day on that topic of proving our worth, I will. However, given the limited time I have for this presentation, I want to move on to creating a sustainable growth for all. Notice I didn't say that for women. I say that creating sustainable growth for all. We are in this world not for competition. It is a collaboration. We cannot ignore one and support the other. The sustainable growth has to be for all. As women, as giver of life, as mothers, as daughters, sisters, wives, we are not separated from our counterparts. So it is in a collaborative effort, and it should be women should be considered part of that sustainable growth, for their professional development, for their education. And even though we take up more responsibilities at home, those are side issues to deal with. But in the big idea, I'm looking for that the sustainable growth for all. So the universal awareness for common goals. What do I mean by that? In our shared humanity, regardless of the culture we live in, our limitation, our differences, the way we eat, live, speak, pray, etc., we have common goals. We have the shared humanity that we all are part of, regardless of those obvious differences. Now, if we find ourselves in this 21st century, in the fourth industrial revolution, in the age of artificial intelligence, it is to our best interest to find those common goals, acknowledge them, and create that universal awareness that is beyond gender. I hope that makes sense. So let's move on to the women in the 21st century. What do we need? In many parts of the world, in early childhood, uh, young girls are still lacking tremendous opportunities for education. Without education, there are limited opportunities. We cannot talk about women empowerment and not talk about education. We cannot talk about women empowerment and not talk about giving them equal opportunities. So that should not be just um, some initiative, some high level agenda put out there. It should be in practice in a grassroots level in every society, because every society is part of global economy. In a fourth industrial revolution, if I had more time to go today and talk about it, would really welcome that opportunity to talk about how everyone is a part of this global economy, regardless of your education level, regardless of your socioeconomic or your religion or your race, national boundaries. We are we have come into that era, and there's no going back. So it is to humanity's best interest to recognize the role of women as contributors, not only just the givers of life, the nurturers of life, but the contributors that we have become. And continuing on the topic of the education, what's the future of the education? Technology. Technology is playing big role, and the access to technology, early childhood in many parts of the world where they do not have school buildings or even opportunity for young girls to go to school, either from their cultural reasons or economic reasons or social reasons. So there's multiple. The technology can fill that gap. However, access to technology comes with a cost. How do we address that? So we need to start to identify the future of the education relies in the digital world. When it comes to digital world, aka the technology, we have to educate ourselves to be for digital citizenship. What it means? We are living in the world of artificial intelligence. The technology is here and it's expanding faster than we can even grasp it. To adopt, to learn, to assimilate ourselves to the benefit of humanity is critical, because the technology also has the downside. So it's not my role to talk about the uh, negative side of the technology. However, we are going to take a look at what technology brings to us, not in the area of education, but also opportunities for income, opportunities to contribute in our global economy that requires skills. Um, in as talking about the different bullet points on the screen, as you can see, the social innovation and digital economies are so closely tied together. In a global landscape, in a global village, or global economy, or digital world, we can buy, sell services across our national boundaries. I'm sure this seminar that I am part of, that where I'm presenting in East Coast of United States, and the uh, viewers are all over the world. Our presenters are on the other country, in another continent. However, we are connected with the same platform. These are the benefits. Here we have the opportunities. How do we avail to the best of our abilities? That's what we need to address for empowerment, not just for women empowerment. The empowerment comes for all. As women, as mothers, they give births to boys and girls, sons and daughters. They grow up to be men and women. We are part of that family structure and a part of the workplace and a part of the society. So mother doesn't have to differentiate between a son and a daughter, the opportunity he or she gets. So that should not be in a conversation in a 21st century. It should be equal to all, because we are going to play an important role for the 21st century. Okay, so continuing on, how does leadership look like for women? What are our potentials? Yes, we could talk about potential. They're unlimited. That's we like to believe. However, the generational trauma women have gone through, we still find it very difficult to come out of that generational trauma. We try to minimize ourselves. We look for approval or we wait for approval, even though our capabilities and our contribution is beyond that. So we need to step up. We need to recognize to ourselves our credentials, our abilities. Of course, I understand a young mother has to make a decision on raising her children first or being in a workforce or the split of the two. I'm not taking that away. I'm not telling anyone that what is your higher priority at any given stage or age of your life, and what should you be focusing your life on. What I am talking about is an educated and empowered mother. Empowered woman empowers the entire family. If the family is the unit of the society and the society is built nation, so women are equal part of that. That's the potential we have. However, we don't recognize that because the treatment women have gotten in this decades before us. It's my message here is not to create a competition. I come from the mindset of we collaborate, we change our mindsets, we change our conversations, we bring into the conversation men with that collaborative mindset because we are facing a very uncertain world. So, continuing on my conversation, the broken promises of equivalence. The equality doesn't live in words, it has to come in practice. With all of the given reason I spoke about so far, and more that I haven't spoken about, the promise of equivalence be part of the action because it serves our families, it serves our communities, our societies, and our nation. An empowered woman gives a lot more. The sense of accountability, the sense, the DNA that we have, that we are built with, women are givers and nurturers. So giving back to society, either we are um, contributing to our family's prosperity or even buying products and services because we have that kind of income now to give it back. However, we want to decipher it, however, we want to slice it, however, we want to look at it, women are contributors. Sometimes we pay higher prices of the same type of products and services than our counterparts. So we end up learning less and paying more for the similar type of services. So we need to understand these disparities and try to find ways. And in those kinds of challenges, they cannot be addressed with force or competition. There has to be a dialogue and understanding of what does equality mean. Because in today's globalization and global village in digital economy of the fourth industrial revolution that I talk about so much in my book on the women leadership in the 21st century, it's a holistic approach. It does not only mean to have the high corporate titles or elected offices or political roles to be leader. We can be leader at every level in the society. Those disparities have to be addressed with a collaborative mindset and take our role as in a childbirth years. That is women's role. Um, that's given to us by nature. Have to fulfill the duty. Now it comes to an employers where the job opportunities have to be family friendly. The rules, policies have to become family friendly to give women that kind of welcome back. And the revolving effect, I could talk about it, is the best I would say is the 80-20 rule, right? So the 20% of the issues uh, can come from 80% of the resources, or vice versa, or the 20% of the solutions can eradicate 80% of the problems, etc. So we can take this revolving effect in so many different ways. The split responsibilities for women, healthcare for women, education for women. These are all important factors to be considered. And then developing skills, as we are in the age of artificial intelligence, and a lot of automation is taking place, even in agriculture. In looking at the pros and cons, as there are so many benefits that technology brings to us today, there's so many opportunities that we need to identify how our roles are changing, how technology would force us to learn new skills, or those skills are being uh, trained in a timely fashion. In that disparity, would women become the victims, larger victims? So these are our responsibility, not just as women, but men and women in a collaborative way have to find those ways to address these challenges that humanity faces now. Um, the power to empower. I think this is a very dear topic. As I talk about bringing it back to my conversation for women leadership book. This power to empower idea is understanding our own power, and my efforts made hundreds of hours of interviews and speaking to women and men globally. My conclusion to understand how we define power. Power is not an authority or exertion of authority, it's personal capacity. The personal capacity is a natural ability, an authority to exert influence and take actions, command and control. So the power becomes a larger um, set of responsibilities or traits, where empowerment is amplifying the individual's capacity to reflect their personal power to create and deliver results. We need to bring our attention the shift for the rapid change that humanity is going through in this 21st century. It has become an essential that we recognize that every citizen for our society is playing a role, big or small, is critical. So the women, as the nurturers of the younger generation, they spend more time with their children, young boys and girls. And empower women empowers the entire family. They empower their sons and daughters who grow up to be the leaders of tomorrow. So if we start looking at the mindset shift of spending resources to women empowerment, it is going to serve our communities, our families, our nations, and our humanity the best. So, there are a lot of other areas that I would like to talk about on components of empowerment. I want to go back to the shift of the change. Uh, uh, sh- to bring change, first we need to pay attention to the personal development, self assurance. Like myself, being awarded and honored after the decades of hard work, I still was feeling shy to even showcase my advancements and my uh, achievements. That's how we have to understand our own power and be able to talk about it's not um, uh, ego. It is with all humility. I see that it took so much effort. It should be inspiring for other young women and men also. um, be authentic. Authenticity is humility. It gets noticed. So women, um, my message for women out there is that being authentic doesn't mean that we need to be aggressive. It's with the humility to understand our own skills, abilities, and our contribution. And that understanding is good enough. Resourcefulness. We may not have all the resources available to us, but how do we find the minimum what's available? Um, Either is the economics of our societies or cultures, however that is situation pertains to you. Be resourceful. Find ways. Connect. We have in the palms of our hand so much power these days. Connect where you have opportunities to learn. Um, Bring economic independence. That is very empowering. And it also look for the positions of power in the society. There is nothing wrong with that. So let's go to the component of empowerment: women's self-worth, the right to have access and choose, access to choose and make decisions, the right to have access to opportunities and resources, control over their own lives, be able to make some decisions both internally and externally that does not violate the family's values or principles, etc. But influence of domestic and international social change to bring in a way that creates more than a fair society and a fair economy for all. In the conclusion, I would like to say that our focus should be investing in girls' early education wherever possible, either with the digital citizenship, that with technical resources or funding, as mm, it does require funding. We need to invest in the early education uh, for girls, and that would serve communities in big ways with the higher paybacks. Family friendly workplace: when women have to take maternity leaves or women have to take leave for uh, caregiving, the workplace should be family friendly. The policies of the workplace should not be against women, that they come back at the lowest level to enter workforce and keep proving themselves. This has to change. This has to change for our own good, and it would serve organizations well. Also, investing in skills for professional growth. Women often are given very repetitive task oriented jobs, and there is not much advancement for them. However, that is losing valuable talent that women can bring to the prosperity and growth. Giving them opportunities for professional growth would serve best for organizations as well, because women are 50% of the workforce. If those opportunities are not given, organization would be losing out on a large number of skilled labor. Mentoring opportunities, and this goes at all levels of um, professions. Women don't have, even in um, um, developed countries, women do not have as many mentoring opportunities as men do, for both reasons, as women are growing into the workplace. So it wasn't a traditional um, uh, choice available or opportunity available, but we should bring attention to it and create more opportunities for women. With all with all that said, I close my presentation, and I thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to present. um, I would love to ask you if there are any questions. I can take questions now.
Thank you so much, Ritu, for sharing your enlightening speech about women's leadership, strategic advising, and empowerment. So it was a very good start for the day to with this great title talk by Ritu Chopra. And you got really a very good questions from the audience. So as we are running out of time, uh, so the speaker is another speaker is waiting in the backstage. So you can post your answers later to the audience, and you can reply them back. So thank you so much, and please do join our next speaker session, Priyanka. And please post your question and encourage other speakers for the whole day. Thank you, and have a
Thank
great
you.
day. Bye.
Thank you, Melinda. Bye bye.